We know that the British government has certain aims and objectives, if I may use the word, and you, the people of Britain, can change it. I can't alone do it. Amnesty International can't do it. The lawyers who are fighting the case of this political prisoner can't do it. They can put them as a political prisoner of conscience. I remember it 40 years ago when Ziaul Haq was sitting in Pakistan. What was happening? Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were visiting the country every day while he was flogging the people publicly. Yes, I know. I'm aware of these things, what happened in the world. If the Western agendas, if I may use very politely, are being met by those countries or leaders. And we have to pressurize the governments. I think everybody said it very rightly, that you can meet your MP, you can go to your MP, Costa Club can organize 3-4 meetings every now and then. First meeting was held, there were 200 people, then next following meeting in 2010, I think before election, when Ana Gomes came from Portugal, MEP, and she said the election were rigged. What can you do? You can't bomb every country. Britain can't stand up and send their forces to bomb a country. You can raise these issues. I think we have to be realistic as well. I think Amnesty International is doing a great job. They are writing to the MPs, and today we saw at least 2 MPs who came because of Amnesty International. But I have not seen a single MP from your representation. We did write to you. We did ask you, can you go to your MP, write to him, ask him a question and ask him to attend this meeting? Did you? I think it is very good to ask questions and ask other people, what can you do for me? You have to ask, what are you doing yourself for your country? I think it is very important because your parents, as the young lady, the young lady who said that she is a taxpayer and her family is being tortured, she doesn't know who is her MP. I'm sorry. I know who is your MP because I do work with a lot of communities. Go tomorrow to Ruth Cadbury. She is a wonderful lady. She has just been elected, newly elected, and she came to Third World Solidarity meeting. I was amazed that she is not here today. We did put this on the notice board, and every MP and Lord knows about this meeting. But I can't push them to come. You can push them. Go and meet them. Write to them. Can I conclude the meeting, or do you want to say something before I do that? Patricia.
Yeah, well, actions. Have we got a summary? We're waiting for...
Write to us what action you think we can do it, and you have to participate in it. I think there can be a long list. Can somebody suggest what action we can do next?
Well, we did ask Dave to write to Philip Hammond.
I think that is all he said it.
And it was everything that we wanted said was in that letter in terms of pushing the Ethiopian government in the right direction. But we haven't had a response yet. So the first thing to call for really is a response to the letter that we wrote.
We can't force him, Mr. Can we?
Well, no,
we can only write.
Remind him.
We can have an ADM. Yes, action point, please.
We need to challenge the policies.
Who?
We need to challenge the Ethiopian policies. The fact that we're funding Ethiopia a lot of money and we're not able to go in and investigate is ridiculous, considering that we're paying them a lot. So that's why we should challenge the policies and at least be able to go in and investigate the matters on the ground.
Who should do that?
Our government should. Our government should.
Yeah. I think it's something you can bring up with your MPs. We have a very large diplomatic mission in Addis Ababa, and to ask them to ask what they're doing to monitor, they should be monitoring, obviously, and visiting.
Yes, there is a young lady who wants to suggest us some action plan.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was wondering, since there's quite a close link between human rights abuses and various terrorist laws, and there's also a close correlation between corruption and the possible recruitment to various extremist groups. I was wondering how much of the aid is being used in the Ethiopia case, the British aid, to fight corruption in Ethiopia, and how can the aid be used to fight corruption in the future?
I think the first meeting we held, when was it, Kefale? 2000 in Great Community Room, June.
Yeah.
There was a proof brought in by Ethiopian living abroad that more than £8 billion has been squandered in corruption from Ethiopia, the wife of the ex-Prime Minister and many others. We can highlight it, but there is a limit. What can we do? As I said, Britain can't send their aeroplanes every day. Yes, please.
I suggest that perhaps pressure could be put on the Ethiopian ambassador who's here in London. I mean, the Horsham Amnesty group have let him know what was happening. We've informed him quite fully, but perhaps more information and pressure could be put on him about the kind of things that have been raised in this meeting.
I think you are most welcome, and obviously Jackie and Patricia will write to him about this meeting and the report of this meeting, the MPs who have attended, the other people. And I think my suggestion is, last week there were about 20,000 people outside 10 Downing Street. If Ethiopia can get united and bring in 20,000 people, it will be raised throughout the world and a lot of media will take the note of it. But I think you have to get to do it. I can't. I was part of that demonstration 3 weeks ago, human rights violation in Kashmir on India, while Indian Prime Minister was visiting. When the Foreign Minister of Ethiopia was visiting, I circulated the information. I was invited to it. I did ask Ethiopian community people to go, register yourself and go. I think Teshale was registered to go there. Did you go? Look, what can I do? I can't go everywhere. So you have to get united, organized, and go and challenge the ministers. You are very right. Have a demonstration outside Ethiopian embassy. That will work. But you have to have 5,000 people there, not 50 people.
No,
then they will.
we did it with 500. And we stood outside the embassy. We'd already written to the ambassador, but he hadn't replied to our letters. So we went ourselves and handed the letter in. And we stood there for quite a long time. I put a picture of us outside it. And we didn't go away, and eventually somebody came out and we got the name and address of somebody to write to who said we would have an answer. And what we got were the 9 pages of the court case on the allegations against Eskinder, which we then forwarded to Patricia and to the International Secretariat, who had not seen all that information before. So it does work to make yourself provocative, to be there, to be seen, and to ask questions, and to go back and do it over and over again, because we had a long time doing this, but we didn't give up. Our group haven't given up. There are 4 of them here along with me today, because we think it's important to keep the pressure on. And it doesn't matter if it's only a few of you, but you just have to keep on doing it.
No, my suggestion is that I will discuss it next week in Costa Club as well, which I am part of, that we should have a big demonstration on human rights issue in Ethiopia in front of 10 Downing Street, and then hand over the petition to the Prime Minister. He will read it, because once we do it, and I've done it in many other issues, and you must have seen some time picture when people are handing over their petition to 10 Downing Street and Prime Minister. So let's organize something. It is in your hand. As I said, Amnesty International will help you. Third World Solidarity will get you permission to go to that place and have a demonstration, but I can't bring the Ethiopian people to do
Can I
it.
just
Victoria,
to tell the audience when their demonstrations are?
Oh, well, I expect we'll be having another one in January, because he hasn't replied to our latest letter.
You don't do a regular Saturday every month?
No, it's just we are trying to get the answers to the questions, and by we send another letter.
let me know, Jackie, I will be there. I will be there.
I will circulate it. I should imagine it will be in the new year.
If the embassy,
It hasn't replied for a while.
if the embassy is not responding and the Downing Street is not responding, why we cannot take this case to Brussels, to European Parliament?
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Victoria,
No, I just want to
Professor Victoria, I'm sorry.
I just want to paraphrase what a lot of people have said, bringing up the issue of the famine and the hunger, because I think with this anti-terror ideology across the world, it's very easy for states to slip by and say, you know, this is an anti-terrorist measure, etc., etc. It feeds into a logic which is very difficult to break, although, of course, it has to be broken, as you are doing with individual cases. But it's very difficult to sweep under the carpet famine of masses and masses of people, and that is a clear dereliction of duty. And it has been linked to authoritarianism. The other thing is, you know, it's very easy to naturalize drought. Okay, drought, well, it's Africa, of course, they have drought, they have famine, blah, blah. And it's been proven time and time again that drought happens where there is authoritarianism, and that freedom and democracy are the way forward to having a proper system of communication and distribution of food and resources. So I think maybe highlighting this other aspect of the regime's abuse of human rights, the right to life itself, yes. And that is a way of also breaking down this, how can I say, the labyrinth of the anti-terrorism regime, which we are all in one way or the other constrained by.
No, thank you very much. Ramesh, before I go, I have asked at least 20-time question from Bill Gates to the Foreign Minister Desmond last week when he was giving us briefing on sustainable development goals, but their answer is always bureaucrats, civil servants. Once I went to a civil servant meeting, it was a Foreign Office and International Development, and they said, look, Mushtaq, we agree with you that in past human rights was one of our top agenda. Now it is stability and security, and the human rights have slipped back. So I think the Victoria Goddard's point is very important, that we should link somehow this famine, poverty to the extremism and security issues. And I must, you are the last one, but be brief.
I think we should continue really to expose and then do advocacy work. But my experience tells me, since 1991, when this government, this UK sponsored the current regime, for the last 25 years, the amount of demonstration and vigil we have done, and I can't tell you, in front of Downing Street and Foreign Office and the Parliament. So that's why we came actually to several solidarity. Maybe we can influence not the executive, but the Parliament, so that it could actually pass some kind of legislation to make the government accountable for the money it gets. But I think one thing we have seen recently is defeat has been actually taken to court, to judiciary, because the money they have given have actually displaced people in Gambella, and somehow they have settled it with the person and that they have withdrawn the money, although they have given another reason for withdrawing the money, but at least they have stopped financing that kind of project. So what I'm saying is we need a more firmer action, more challenging thing, and the legal aspect of it. The government is accountable. I mean, we're not saying don't give money to the poor or to starving, but they need to make the regime accountable, and so some kind of legal aspect we have to see, I think, in the future.
Can I just suggest as well, there is an all-party parliamentary group on Ethiopia which is chaired by Lawrence, who is in the current government, and maybe it would be a good idea for him and the current government to hear a repetition maybe of all what we've heard tonight, because it sounds like perhaps they're not aware, rather than always being within the same group of friends, I suppose, that support us. So perhaps that's something we could look at.
You can write to him until the cows come home, but I can tell you, all you would be getting is the party line.
We know that I think we know that from the government, from MPs who are representing the government, you will get the same letter, possibly with few changes in it. But there is no harm in writing to them, because when you write to them, and if you are a local constituent, go and try to meet them. That's the second important thing, and I think the MPs do listen to it, they do care about it, but it has to be number of people, not 1, 2 or 3. If thousands of people do write to them, I've seen about 50 MPs signing a petition against Indian Prime Minister. It is because the Kashmiris community went to them, they lobbied them, they tried for past 68 years. And today they have achieved 50 MPs, including leader of the opposition. So I think if you continue with your struggle and hard work, result can come out. And I think, let me conclude by thanking everybody. I know it is a very cold evening in the November. I'm really thankful to the speakers who have prepared themselves to speak about individual cases, but these are not individual cases. These are linked with other thousands of prisoners which have been mentioned here. I think we have to continue. We are here to support you and help you, assist you, but as Chairman Dave Anderson said, as other MPs will understand, they have a limited time, limited resources, and we, Third World Solidarity, is a volunteer group. None of us is paid by anybody, so we are a volunteer group, as is Amnesty International. So I'm thankful to Amnesty International, all the speakers and yourself. Can we give a big clap to the people who have not been